Is it on?
Yeah.
It's on. Is it recording?
Yes, it is. Loading.
Okay, where am I? Who am I?
No.
Okay, I got it. I'm ready. You ready? Okay. The First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America, written by our forefathers back in 1789, mentions, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of press, or of the right to peaceably assemble and to petition the government. Growing up, I never really understood what a blessing the freedom to assemble and the freedom of expression was. To those of us living in the United States, according to a CNS News article written in 2009 by Fred Lucas, we are part of the small 17% of the world's population that is blessed with the freedom of speech. Well, what does that mean? Here in the United States, we are protected by law to have the freedom of expression. This can be in the form such as written expression or protest or the freedom to speak our minds. Now, for example, North Korea is a country that is not blessed with the freedom of expression. According to Liberty in North Korea, in an article titled The People's Challenges by an anonymous author, states, criticism of the regime or the leadership in North Korea, if reported, is enough to make you and your family disappear from society and end up in a political prison camp. Now, so we are so blessed in America that we can say what we want and speak our minds without the risk of being tortured. And the point I want to make in this speech is that because we have the freedom to say what we want, we should be even more careful with our words and how we present them. So, for example, take our past presidential election. Now, during this election, there were so many words thrown around, not only by the candidates, by us, and by the news, that I, for one, just stopped listening. There were so many opinions and so many arguments that I just completely zoned them out. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that the freedom of speech is extremely important. In fact, according to an article by Thomas Cushman titled The Freedom of Expression in Liberal Democracies, published in 2016, the freedom of expression is the foundation upon which all other rights and claims are made and defended. There can be no other freedom without the freedom of expression. Okay, so I'm sure you're thinking, Via, you're telling us to watch what we say, but also that the freedom of expression is important. And my answer to that is yes and yes. Let me give you a simple example to illustrate my point. If you're in this room right now and you were once a child, raise your hand. Yes? Okay. Well, to illustrate our society's response to speech, I want you to give the example of a kid in his or her case. Kids get frustrated. Maybe they didn't get the toy they wanted, or they don't like their food, or their sibling is annoying, or they're tired, or they're bored. Who knows? Kids get frustrated. But guess what? Parents get frustrated too. Okay, because kids do stupid things, and eventually, parents' patience just runs out, and too often, they lose it. Now, lots of parents tend to resort to yelling because they feel like it's a quick way to get their kids' attention. But why? Why do parents feel like they need to resort to screaming across the house to get their attention? An article written on news.com.australia, written by Dr. Justin Colston, titled No Yelling Here, states, perhaps our children choose not to respond to us because we have trained them to wait until we yell, till they act. In the case of parenting, too oftentimes, the parents' emotions get in the way of what they're trying to say. When in reality, their yelling is just like speech to their children because their children are so used to it. So if the parents from the start train them to respond to calm, it is actually much more effective. An article by Debbie Pincus posted on Empowering Parents entitled Calm Parenting states, here's the secret. When you get yourself under control, your kids will usually calm down. Remember, calm is contagious and so is anxiety. In other words, if you want your kids to be calm and behave, you yourself should behave too. In our society, we are similar. We feel like in order to be heard, we have to yell. And that's because everyone else is yelling. But unlike in parenting, there are too many parents yelling, and we can't listen to them all. So in our society, I think of it like putting on noise-canceling headphones. We walk through a crowd and we only hear our own thoughts or what we are listening to ourselves play. We're not listening to everyone else because they're all talking. Now, please pull out the slips of paper that I gave you. And in a normal speaking voice, like you would use presenting a speech, I want you all to read them aloud. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
God allow me. I want to celebrate with my life. Take A out, maybe let's go. Because we go and rock this club. We can go all night.
Okay.
We can light it up.
So it was kind of like a buzz, wasn't it? You couldn't really hear what your neighbor was saying because you were too focused on what you were saying. And in reality, even if your neighbor was saying something good, you couldn't hear it. It wasn't the content of what was being said, it was how it was being presented. All those lyrics you read had some sort of message. Maybe it was relevant to our lives or not, but the point is they did. Now, can I please have one volunteer to read theirs aloud? I will call on someone from my group. Kellen, thank you.
Just normal?
Just normal voice.
Might have a little dirt on my boots, but I'm taking you uptown tonight. Might have a little mud on my wheels, but they're gonna shine with you up inside. Gonna hit the club, gonna cut a rug, burn up like neon lights. Might have a little dirt on my boots, but we're gonna dance the dust right off them tonight.
Thank you. Okay, now we all really heard that, all right? It was clearly spoken, and it was at the right time, in the right place that we all could hear it. Now, whether or not we agree with that, it really is irrelevant. The point is, we heard it. Now, an article titled, "What Should We Say?" written in 2006 by Slofsky, Ferrati, and Rogers states, "What we say can have profound effects. We should choose our words and how we speak them wisely." Now, in our society, we are kind of like the kids yelling, or speaking in a room where no one's listening. We like to shout our words without much thought. We use other tactics such as embarrassment and force to get our points around. Now, while every single person has the right to speak their mind, it won't be heard like this, because there's too many people talking and it's done in a way that we won't listen. Now, think about the kids whose parents teach them to listen the first time, and they know their meaning. Or how we all heard when Helen read that one lyric aloud in the room. This is really how we should be communicating in life. An article written for Active Listening titled "Empowering Communication Tactics" by Dawn O'Connor states, "Remember, it is your job to state the message so that the other person hears it. Remember also that what you say and what is heard could be two very different things." I know if someone came up to me in the street and just shouted something in my face. After a while, I really wouldn't remember what they said. All I would remember was the action of them shouting. So, if you want people to hear what you have to say it in a way that people will hear you. Imagine living in a world where everything that we say is heard. Every single one of us have our own opinions, and we live in a country where it is really possible to voice those opinions. So it's how we choose to say the words that determine if they will be heard. Dominic Brown does a really good job wording this in his 2010 article, "Finding the Right to Speak Your Mind." He says, "All leaders must choose their words carefully, picking the right time to speak in their words so they can have the greatest impact." So in my life, my challenge to you is speak and be heard. A 2014 post on Building My Brand by Chamara says, "So be mindful on what you speak, and remember that speaking the right words at the right time, at any given moment, will surely develop your personality and gain you the respect from many, and it will stand you the stepping stone to success." We are really blessed to live in this country. So let me leave you with these final words. With the great power we have to express ourselves freely, let us take the responsibility of speaking in a way that we will be heard. Thank you.
Okay. Given we don't have time, our time is really restricted. For those of you that are on her team, go ahead and write up your, provide some written evaluations for her, and we'll move right along.
Do I unplug it here first, or do I turn it on? I don't know.
You